Each year, the Star Coach Show takes a 2 week break for the holiday season, and I really like to have my final episode be a solo episode where I'm here with you, highlighting some aspect to consider as you close out your year and think about the next year. I also want to take the opportunity to share my appreciation for you and your engagement with the show. I thought that this year I might explore that bittersweet nature of change as a great way to wrap up the year. It's top of mind for me as we have just moved into a brand new home. We're saying goodbye to our home and neighborhood of over 20 years. And as I also continue to evolve and expand my business, I hope that you're considering the changes that you make. How are you challenging yourself as you step into this coming year? Now, as the host of the Star Coach Show for the past 8 years, I find that each and every year provides me with so many opportunities to grow and be intentional about the changes that I'm going to embrace. And in all transparency, as I look at this past year, I know that sometimes it's my inaction that creates change, whether I'm not taking action because of overwhelm, apathy, or just indecision, that inaction also creates outcomes. So, in today's show, let's kind of look at what are the choices that we make? How do those influence our change? And also, how do we partner with others through the changes that they're going to make? Now, before we step into that conversation about change, let's look over 2024 briefly in the Star Coach Show and just recap some things to help you think about. Is there anything I missed that I really want to be able to go back and capture? So in 2024, we had 52 shows, including focusing on so many different topics, strengthening skills with guests like Master Certified Coaches Dr. Marsha Reynolds and Ann Fogelin. We talked about how to build businesses and increase your visibility with a variety of guests. Many wonderful guests like Jeff Walker and Jeff Crilly. We also leaned into leadership principles with guests like one of my very own clients, Dr. Dondra Sechrist. Now, the holiday break is a wonderful time for you to catch up on any shows that you may have missed, or even better, if you listen every single week, what's a favorite show that you want to go back and lean into again and listen and learn again? I got to tell you that every time I listen back to my interviews with my guests, I learn new, wonderful things. I had the opportunity to do many solo episodes with you this year around AI, around feeling despair or distraught, and how to turn that around. We looked at so many different things. So I really hope that you take time to look back over the year and determine where's a gap that maybe you still want to fill in. Now, if you're used to listening to our show and you haven't watched the show at all, I invite you to the YouTube channel. If you're watching me right now on the YouTube channel, great. Love that you're here. But I got to tell you that on the YouTube channel, we're able to do some things that we don't do on the other platform, like offering great shorts. Our Tuesday tips come through the YouTube channel and other resources that can really enhance your experience with the show. So if you're listening right now and you've never visited the Star Coach YouTube channel, I invite you to hop over there and be sure to subscribe so that you get alerts every time we add one of those bonus nuggets of wisdom for you. Another thing that 2024 brought was a really robust season in the Star Coach member community. We helped coaches grow their businesses and their skills through clarity, connection, commitment. The energy in the Star Coach community is amazing. The group of coaches we have together is phenomenal. So really check it out at starcoachshow.com/community. We'd love to have you join. And I got to tell you that if you are really interested in coaching, but you find that your coaching just keeps getting put on the back burner because of other things, the Star Coach community is a great way to bring that forward because we have 4 live events every single month. Sorry about that. 4 live events. So with all of that, I want to once again let you know how very grateful I am for you and your participation in the show by listening to the show. And let's explore the bittersweet nature of change. So let's start with the concept that it's not universal that our coaching clients are working towards a resolution of a problem. So I'm going to put a little mentor note in here. When I mentor coaches, I discourage them from opening a session by saying, what's the problem you want to focus on today? Or what's the problem you want to resolve? Instead, I encourage them to ask their clients, what do you want to accomplish? What would you like to achieve in this session? Because while it's not universal that our coaching clients are working towards a resolution of a problem, it is universal that our clients are working towards some kind of change. Change is one of those things that is inherent in our lives. It's a constant, inevitable force that shapes our lives in countless ways. Understanding the nature of that change can help us navigate our lives' ups and downs, as well as help our clients navigate those ups and downs more effectively. So, when we consider the fact that whether we like it or not, change is a constant part of our lives, we want to consider if we didn't have change, what would the opposite of that be? I say to people who are bemoaning like being a year older for their birthday, well, what's the opposite of that? If you weren't getting a year older, you'd be dead. So let's look at how being a part of different changes of seasons in life, growing older, getting new opportunities in front of us, all those are a part of the inevitable process of change. It's a part of our personal life, our professional life, and just the world at large. And it's not always change that we would have chosen, but it is part of what we have to deal with in life. So, change by its nature is sort of this double-edged sword. On the one hand, it does bring those opportunities, that growth, that progress. On the other hand, we don't always choose the change or the nature of the change in front of us, and it can create a sense of unease or angst or discomfort. It's because change pushes us out of our comfort zones. Even change that we thought we wanted can create discomfort. It forces us to adapt and evolve. And therefore, like I said, even a change that maybe we thought, ooh, this is positive, this is something that I'm looking for, a promotion, retirement, a new business venture, it can still create stress and anxiety due to uncertainty and unfamiliarity. So it's just being able to acknowledge that when we work with our clients towards changes, even changes that they say they want. We want to be cautious about assuming positive or negative about any change. There's times that I've had a client tell me, I just got laid off, and my knee-jerk reaction to that might be, oh, I'm sorry, how uncomfortable for you. And many times they're embracing that and saying, you know what, it's going to give me the opportunity to grow something that I've really wanted to grow, or making an assumption of a positive change. I'm moving into retirement. Good for you. Well, maybe it's not. Maybe there's angst and confusion or discomfort about that. So instead of assuming anything, just in general, we want to stay curious about how is our client impacted by that change. And I would turn that also towards ourselves rather than assuming any change for ourselves. For example, let's say you've been working towards creating a new program in your business. And on the one hand, you're really maybe excited about that, but you're also confused about where's that hesitation coming from? Where's that discomfort coming from? It might be in the vulnerability of putting something new out there and being uncertain of how's it going to be embraced by my community? Is it going to be, am I going to be successful with this? There's a vulnerability in offering something new because we're in that place of not knowing, are people going to accept it? Am I going to be successful? Am I going to feel like a failure with this? So what are we telling ourselves about the change? What are our clients telling themselves about the change? And when we're working with our clients and we want to stay curious about the impact of the change on them, we also want to stay curious about what do they need from the coaching partnership to effectively navigate that change for themselves. So let's normalize the fact that change can be uncomfortable. What do we need ourselves to step into the stretch, the newness, the opportunity, to acknowledge the vulnerability for our clients, for ourselves? What's needed to be able to really thrive in the face of change? And I can say that, I understand that double natured side of change. My husband and I just completed the build of a new home that we had spent years looking forward to. We looked and looked for years to find the right property, the right builder, the right home plan. We watched and waited for a year while it was being built, and yet have really sort of had to stretch into this change. You would think it was just so exciting and wonderful, and we've got this new home, and yes, it is. But we had to let go of the home that we raised our children in, a community that we had been a part of for 20 years. We watched as our children kind of had their last family gathering in our old home and kind of grieved that. I remember, well, it was not long ago to remember this because it was just a couple weeks ago, but we had completely cleared everything out of our home. I had spent the day cleaning and getting it ready for the new family to move in. And my husband and I were standing in the kitchen of our old home, looking at the empty great room and the empty dining room and the empty offices, and walked through the empty bedrooms. And we got teary. We grieved letting go of that old house, even though we were super excited to give it to the new family who were over the moon excited to get that home. And we were so excited to move into this new home. And yet, there's grief, there's change, there's letting go of the familiar. So, even in a change that is anticipated and planned for, just be aware that you're probably going to have feelings come up that might be surprising for you, and make room for your clients to also go through the transition and navigation that change brings. Through that, in addition to the fact that change is inevitable, change can sometimes be unpredictable. So, in knowing that a change is coming, there can be things that happen, bumps along the road. There's going to be elements of the unexpected. And how do we ourselves plan for that? So let's go back to the example of you've created a new offering for your clients and you're excited about it and you've planned for it. There's still undoubtedly going to be bumps in the road, things that come up that you didn't expect, technology issues. Carts have gone down before for, when you've opened a new program. So just know that there's elements of the unexpected when it comes to change, and that it's part of the factor. So what can you do to respond to those? Now, especially for us and for our clients, when change comes suddenly without warning, it can disrupt plans and expectations. It can make change feel very scary and overwhelming. So when that happens, and when we're dealing with clients where change has come suddenly and unexpectedly, what can we do as a coach partner to help them step into that place? We want to acknowledge, we want to hold space for our clients. And then, when appropriate, look at what does this change and the scary, unexpected change, where where does the opportunity lie? How does the client want to be in the face of that? Where do they have potential for growth? It's all about balance when we're working with our clients. When something just happens, it might not be the time to lean into what can you learn from this? Where's the silver lining? So it's meeting with empathy and giving space when something first happens. And with every change, there is that looking at where does the possibility lie? Where does the opportunity lie? However, when's the timing right for that? Where's the balance? When do we lean into empathy? When do we lean into space and potentially allowing clients grief or timing? And then also, how do they want to be in the situation? Where does opportunity and growth lie? It's all about balance and timing, because change is a process. Now, it might come through as an event or as something that has occurred. And yet, even within that, where does the process lie? Often, like I said, it's about balance and timing, and helping ourselves or our clients look at what are the stages of this? What are the phases of this change? With grief, there's phases of grief that come and flow, that ebb and flow. They don't come like boom, first there's, denial and then acceptance. No, there's these ebbs and flows of these many phases of grief. It's the same kind of thing with change. How do we look at the phases of change, the stages that we're going through, and what can we learn from each one? It's about acknowledging that yes, it's challenging and yes, it can be uncomfortable. And if we stay stagnant and we don't change, there's no development, there's no growth. So, how can we prepare for and navigate by being intentional, by making choices that work for us, by responding to what's in front of us, and helping to put change in motion in the way that best serves us? When we can shift perspective into the fact that we're not at the mercy of change, but we can actually be a change agent in our life. That can help expand that lens to more opportunity, more possibility, and not tighten the lens to make us feel victimized or live in a place of overwhelm about the change. It's really helpful to remember working with our clients who are in that whirl of change that they do have agency. They might not have total agency. Where do they have agency? Where do they have choice? How do they want to respond? Where is their level of where they can be intentional about their reactions and how they want to show up? Which brings us to the next point about change being a catalyst for growth. Now, once again, I go back to that aspect of timing and balance, of meeting our clients where they're at, giving them space, and also exploring where growth can be. When we get pushed out of our comfort zones and we're challenged to adapt and change and evolve, there is an opportunity for new skills, to gain new perspectives, to become more resilient. So, yes, we want to acknowledge that change is difficult, but we also want to acknowledge that change is a powerful tool for personal and professional growth. So let's lean back into us as coaches or leaders or business owners and say, where is the change that you want to lean into for growth in this coming year? What is going to serve you to potentially let go of? So, one of the most challenging aspects of change is letting go of the familiar. We often cling to what we know because it provides this sense of predictability and security. However, it also keeps us stagnant. And when we truly embrace change, there's not always room for all of the old. Going back to this current move that we've made, I had to look through things. I'd lived in my old house for 20 years. There were things that I was holding on to that I thought, what am I holding on to this for? What is the purpose that it serves? I had to challenge myself to let go of. As a matter of fact, I'm still in that process because many things had already been boxed up. And so now that we're in this new house, I'm going to be going through a series of letting go. I think that one of the things that brought this really clearly into focus for my husband and myself was that we've recently lost all four of our parents. And in that, we had the responsibility, especially with Dan's parents, to go through their belongings, to look at what they held on to, and to ask ourselves, do we want our children to go through this same process of having so many things to look at and let go of? So, especially in my business, I've been looking through records and looking at things and saying, is this really serving me? When I open something up and say, ooh, but maybe someday I'll want to do X, Y, and Z, I have to challenge myself and say, when you go to do a new talk or a new workshop, are you really going to go through all these paper files that you have to find things? Or are you going to end up looking things up, creating new? So once again, where's that balance? Where's the balance between the security, the predictability, also being able to repurpose some things that I worked very hard on, but also what do I need to let go of from the past to make way for new? And I challenge all of you to be thinking about that as well. What a, what are you going to be required to think about to be adaptable. So that's our next point, that change really requires us to be adaptable. And when you navigate change effectively, you've got to be open to new ideas. You've got to be willing to let go of old ways of doing things and be able to adjust your plans and your expectations as needed. And our clients need to do the same. When we challenge our clients to think about how do they want to manage the change ahead of them, how can they make the process smoother and less stressful for themselves, oftentimes that requires thinking about things differently, shifting to a different perspective, expanding the way we think about things, and wondering, just because it's the way I've always done it, is that the best way for me moving forward? So I challenge my clients and I challenge the coaches that I train to think about helping our clients look through imagine the lens that they're looking through and thinking about how that can be expanded. And when we expand it, that's when there's room for new possibility, new opportunity, new perspective. What's interesting is that sometimes we're better at helping other people expand their lenses than expanding our lenses ourselves. So, what might you need to think about or explore to expand your lens in the face of change to be open to new possibility? Now, I want to acknowledge that newness and change can lead to fear. Fear is a powerful emotion that can significantly hinder our ability to be open to change. Now, fear can manifest in lots of different ways. Our fear of failure, our fear of the unknown, even sometimes our fear of success. What do I have to face or explore if I'm successful in this particular thing? What is the cost of that success? Sometimes that's lurking below the surface and we're not even aware of it. So we then become resistant or we even undermine our possible change because we believe deep down that maybe that's in our best interest. It's recognizing that brings it to the surface and then allows us to address those fears in the light of day versus them working under the radar, which is where they tend to be most powerful. Because if we're not even aware that they're there, then they can wreak all sorts of havoc. The key is stepping into recognition of what's going on, what's motivating us or demotivating us so that we can better navigate that change. Change is not one size fits all. It's different for each one of us. And that's why when we're working with clients, it's super important to walk into that with curiosity rather than knowing, so that we can better understand where our clients are coming from. It's also important to kind of step into that in curiosity for yourself as well, because it can come in various places and aspects and show up with different faces, from small changes like I want to adopt a new habit, but maybe I don't because I'm comfortable with my old habit, to, I'm not comfortable moving so far away from X, Y, and Z. If you're being offered an opportunity to move to a new city or start a new job, every single change presents its own unique set of challenges and opportunities. So it becomes, what do I need to open up to be aware of the stories I'm telling myself, the beliefs that I'm holding? Are these beliefs working for me or against me? But the only way we can really be aware of that is if we open ourselves up to what's happening so that I can fully evaluate, look at each thing and say, What do I want to do with this piece? What do I want to do with this? So as we look to this coming year, I want you and I challenge you to consider what's important for the changes that you want to engage in, whether it's for your personal growth, your professional development, a lifestyle change, a new offer you're making for your clients, uh, uh, and just kind of looking at maybe you want to leave corporate work and go into your own business. Maybe you have been in your own business and you think maybe it's time to go back to corporate America. Whatever the changes are that's in front of you, you've got to kind of hold it up and look at it so that you're able to set clear and realistic goals that can help guide your journey and set you up for success. Being aware that it's not always going to be comfortable, and that's okay. If we want to successfully navigate change, the good, the bad, the bittersweet, it's important to honor where we currently are. And with that acknowledgement, we've got to look at what are our feelings, what fears might be rising up, what's going on in our current circumstance that we really need to acknowledge. The same thing goes with our clients. What do they need to do to acknowledge their feelings, to recognize any fear that might be there, to look at their current circumstance and understand what's important in that to them? And once we are able to kind of assess that rationally, then we can begin to set the stage for success in the face of change by identifying what do we need in the way of support? What do our clients need in the way of support? Where do we need to challenge our thinking to step into new ideas? This could involve what kinds of resources do we need? What kinds of support systems do we need? What kinds of new tools and creative solutions might we need? I challenge and encourage each of us to honor our current place because wherever we are in whatever we're doing, it's okay. It's also okay to challenge ourselves to expand and grow into new success. So, the more clarity that we have and understanding, we can then approach change with more confidence and more resilience, no matter how bittersweet it might be. I want to hear from you and know what is it? What's the change that you're taking on for 2025? What's the thing that maybe you're willing to challenge yourself into? Leave a comment if you're here on YouTube watching me. Leave a comment right below. If you're listening in the many different platforms that the Star Coach Show is on, I would love it if you went to starcoachshow.com and sent me a note on the contact page. Said, "Hey, Meg, I listened to episode 423 for your end of the year, and here's what I'm challenging myself to do." I would love to hear from you. I want to thank you for being a part of my world here at the Star Coach Show. We are going to embark on this 2 week break over the last week of 2024, the first week of 2025, to wrap up the year and to set our intentions for 2025. But I look forward to seeing you in the new year. I got to tell you, I have already done some incredible interviews for what you can expect in 2025. Great stuff is on the horizon. We will continue to bring you strategies, tools, and resources, whether you're a coach, a leader, somebody who just wants to kind of strengthen the way you communicate. I'm thrilled to have you here. And I want you to remember that we're all here on this earth together to do the heavy lifting together, to be kind to one another, to be kind to ourselves. Please take a moment to subscribe wherever you're listening. And until next year, this is Meg Rentschler wishing you the very best for your success. Take care.